Okay. We're gonna see how I can show my grinding technique. My Simonton 451 chain grinder. This is Oregon square ground chain. It's a softer steel than the steel, but I actually enjoy it. It lasts pretty good, and it's a lot easier to grind. It doesn't wear out your stone so hard. So I'm going from a stock edge, which is okay, but it's not my favorite. I'm converting it over to my grind that I prefer. I'm part of the way down this chain on this side, so we're just going to go through it. Now, initially, you won't be able to see it, but right here, there's the adjustment screw on my Simonton. I set it, this is a brand new chain, so I set all the teeth to the same depth the first grind. After they get beat up, they just are how they are. I grind them till they're sharp, and then I adjust the raker. This raker has already been tuned, so I'm just moving the angle of the tooth a bit. The reason why I'm going in and out is if you just hold it on here, you're going to see heat start to creep up the tooth, and it's going to turn blue and purple and red hot. You don't want that. If it does happen, or it starts to happen, I mean your stone's getting dirty, and I like to take the air compressor and blow it on the corner of the stone, and you see the darkness come off it a bit. That means the steel is blowing out of the stone. So I go back and forth to let it cool, hit it, cool, hit it, and then I would flip it around and see if I'm at the right angle, but since you guys won't be able to see that, I take my thumb and I hook it. That's probably out of focus, but I hook the nail on the working edge of the tooth, and if it sticks, it's exactly where I need the tooth to be. If it doesn't, if it slides off, you're not there. So you've either gone too far or you're not there enough. And rotate. Factory teeth do have a lot of inconsistencies. Some of these are, the cutter is farther forward. It's not that it's out of place on the chain, it's just that the tooth is longer and it's got this weird beak to it. So some of those are going to take a little more grinding. This one's kind of odd shaped like that. Check it, we're good. Usually I pull the arm out and I look at it. Put the arm back, but you guys can't see that process. My phone's in a weird spot and I can't see the screen, so hopefully this is still in the right spot. I should probably check to make sure. We won't be rambling on here for an hour and find out that it's not right. Okay, we're still good. Got it on fixed focus, so it shouldn't be going in and out of focus. When your stone is clean, it's really hard to see. Let's see if I can show you. So, the ultimate goal is the corner top of the stone, the edge of it, and the working corner. Once you get to the sweet spot, they meet exactly. You can see it without me touching it. It rocks the tooth up. It's not quite all the way in yet. I usually hold tension on the chain from this side over here, so it holds the tooth in one spot, and I usually keep my thumb on this side of the chain just underneath the stone so it holds the tooth in the exact spot that I need it. You don't want to pull down on the arm of the grinder because it will manipulate your tooth, and if you push up on it, even though the bearings are tight, you can still get this to flex a little bit. You don't want any flexing because then your teeth are all going to be off. Doing a chain for the first time is a real pain in the butt. It takes the longest, especially on a full comp, 32, 36 inch. You got a lot of teeth to go over. Let's swing this one out and look at it. Yep, we're still doing good. I'm still in the right spot. Now, if for some reason your tooth just got red hot, what I do is I blow on it, or take the air compressor and blow on it. If it's like turned cherry red for some reason, I just spit on the tooth. Yeah, it's like, oh, you're gonna retemper it, blah, blah, blah. It's better than just letting it recool, because then the temper's off. And then you just grind it back a little bit. People say, oh, your tooth is screwed up from then on out. It's not. It's really not. They cut just fine. They cut for all day. It's not a big deal. Now, if every tooth when you're done, the entire tooth is purple and blue, you're gonna have some troubles. That chain's gonna be a little difficult cutting and trying to resharpen. So don't get it too hot if you can help it. And if for some reason you're just going about this and it's wanting to fold the lip up on the top plate, your stone is also dirty and you need to retrim it. Just a little bit. It's a really easy process. I'll show that here in a bit. Usually I retrim my stone when I flip the chain around. I can get away with blowing the air compressor on the stone to clean the stone until that point. Usually. If my teeth are really beat up, you're going to dirty your stone a lot worse. But this one's clean, so it's not a big deal. One thing I've noticed about these Oregon chains is they don't come with a marker on the link. So you got to look for the double space between the two. Or just grind until you see shiny steel again. Just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to show you what happens if you put too much pressure for too long on the tooth. This is for scientific reasons. Look at that turn red. So I'll do. Blow on it. Cool it off. And then retouch it up. Sharp. It only discolors the inside and a little bit of the outer edge. If you catch it quick enough, you can just grind that back a tad. It doesn't take much. So you want to avoid it turning, molten red. That's bad. But occasionally, if you're having a tooth that's really beat up, you're gonna beat it up even further to get it back to where it needs to be, and then you pull that steel back. But just don't be too hard on it. Take your time, and it all turns out. Whatever you do, don't bring your arm in before your tooth is set in this little doodad here, because you'll grind the top plate, and that's a lot of teeth that has to come off to get that ground back. I've done it a few times and it's a real pain. So just make sure you got a hold on it before you bring it all the way in. Now, everybody has a different process for doing this. This is how I do it, and it works for me. My chains cut really straight. Even when I have teeth that are shorter than the other ones, I set the raker to that tooth, and they still cut straight. Now, somebody in the comments is going to be like, oh, I've seen your cuts where you've had to trim off a section that you overcut on. Yeah, that's because my hand manipulation on the weight from side to side of the saw was off, and it pulled the cut. That's me, not the chain. You all got to realize that you run into some really interesting cutting positions while out falling timber. Not everything's perfect on flat ground. You're going to be doing some cuts that are on a bit of a slope, or standing on 3 other logs, or standing on some limbs to reach out as far as you can to get a butt cut. Nothing's perfect in the woods. What should be perfect, though, is your chain when you go out. There's nothing worse than having a slow chain or a messed up chain. All right, now I can feel that I'm back to where I started, not only because the double length right here, you can see 2 links, that's where they piece the chain together. But when I went in on that tooth, it's to the spot where there's no resistance coming off it, so I can tell that that tooth is ground. You really don't need the link to get back to where you started. Okay, this one's done. I'm gonna see if I can show you how I flip it. Yeah, zoomed out to 3. Hopefully it autofocuses right. So on the Slimerton grinder, the switch is up here. I'll pull this out of the way for a second. So you pull it towards you, you stop the grinder, and you turn the wheel each time you flip the chain. So for the teeth going to the right, the stone turns clockwise. You don't have to take your chain off the Symington. You just flip it and you pull this little doodad right here over. It pivots and then it hooks your teeth on that side. So this way, you always pull the switch towards you. And I like to give it a little bump start, but this way it goes counterclockwise. You want it so the stone is going into the tooth. If you do it the other direction, you're going to get sparks in your face, and if stones chip off, it's all going in your face. This way it blows out the back. So we'll get it back. Well, we'll do it right here. Let's see if this is still in focus. I might have to move the camera in a minute. Hold on. I should do it. Okay, so this is the top trim for the top plate of the stone. You don't have to do this one as often as you do the side. I do this one like every other time I do the front plate of the stone. So we'll just fire it up. This one's a stiffer one because these will loosen up if they're not really tight. So you just run it up. And you'll see, I don't know if you guys can see it on there, but you'll see the edge of the stone start to turn white, so it's cleaning it up. And on this side, give it a little twist. It's not much, it's just a millimicron. Up and down. I like to leave my trimmers down, so if they vibrate, it's not going to get onto the stone. Then I blow it off, and you're ready to continue. This chain's done, so turn it off since this is probably the best angle for you guys right here. Hopefully you're still in. This chain's done. I do like this Oregon chain. I like the Husqvarna chain. I think it's the same chain, just different markers on it. I don't know the numbers. I haven't. It's square. It's softer, but it still holds out good. I've ran into more inconsistencies in steel chain than I have the, let's see, I've got probably 8 to 10 Husqvarna and Oregon chains, and these have been more consistent. Lately, I don't know if it's an old new thing, but lately the Oregon has been more consistent in even tooth and rakers than the steel has as of late. Plus it's easier to grind and it holds the edge pretty darn good. I really haven't noticed much difference in cutting. My chains still go all day. Alright, I gotta find me a steel chain. Now, I don't wash my chains before I grind them. The most I do is I'll run a brush over them to get the majority of the goop off the outside. It'll knock some of the inside of the tooth off, the crap that's in the tooth. I just go over it with an air compressor. And that's all I do. I don't get into soaking them or doing this and that, because when I grind a chain, they're coming off the mountain, off my saw, onto the grinder, back in my chain pouch or back on my saw, and away it goes the next day. I don't spend the time to wash them. It will get your stone a little dirtier if they're oily, but that's what this is for. I've had this stone for, it was used when I bought this grinder, and I've had this stone for 2 years. Maybe going on 3 years. I forget if I got it in 21 or 22. But I've got more play on this side than I do here. I'm almost up to I usually keep my finger behind this so I can twist it. I've had to switch my position to go top to bottom instead of side to side. I got about 1/4 of an inch left before it hits this plate back here. So I'm gonna have to replace the stone soon, but I'm gonna nurse it to the very end. Alright, so on the steel chains and the Husqvarna, steel you got this bright yellow plate. Husqvarna, it's a gold plate. I just run it up there because it's easy. I'll go back to grinding over here. I will check again to see if you guys are still in focus. If it's really off to the side, I'm going to be bummed. Well, it's pretty good. Probably adjusted out to here a tad. Hopefully it wasn't off to the side too much. Oh, we're running at 16 minutes. Shoot. I didn't know I was jabbering for that long. Well, I guess we can wrap it up then. Hopefully that's given you guys some insight on how I grind my chains. It doesn't take too long if my chains aren't beat up. If they are beat up, I can be out here for a couple hours doing a half dozen chains. I don't have to do any rakers tonight. The rakers are set. I set my rakers a little low so I can get a few sharpenings off them before they start to slow down. So all I'm doing tonight is grinding up about 6 to 8 chains for half of my Husqvarna, half of my 500i. I'm running 28 inch, so I don't have to be on each chain for too long. The ones I showed you were full comp. The one I got here, which is the steel, this is a half skip or a semi skip. Still square ground, it's the skip, not the chisel. Full chisel bit, square ground. So yeah, there's the information on that. A lot of guys will just trim the stone to get the crap off. I use the air compressor and you don't have to trim this as much. So air compressor really helps. I know, washing your chains would help even better. Not if they're beat up. Alright, hopefully this was good information, and see you on the next one.